Gregory Mahalik, FTH 223. Here we have our SAR B6. The booklet on the ground today is May the 12th. This is our week 3, module 3 assignment. So first and foremost, we have our SAR. There's no source of magazine in there, as well as I can visually and physically check that the chamber is free. Here's our magazine. We can see the red follower, so indicate that there is no ammo in there as well. So part 1, demonstration piece. We are going to do a dry fire dummy check. So I'm going to grab some dummy rounds. We're going to load this up and proceed with the dry functions check. Alright, so I went ahead and just loaded 4 rounds for our functions check. Go ahead and we're going to load our magazine in the firearm. Make sure it's off safe. Hammer is to the rear. So this SAR, I don't like them. There's not much here to grip for the slide. So when you're doing a functions check, you need to be cognizant of blocking the ejection point with your hand and introducing a malfunction that would not normally be there during a course of fire, because your hand's not going to be objective to it and blocking that. So we want to just hold the firearm. We're going to grab that slide and we're going to chamber our first round. So we have done our feeding portion of the cycle of operations. We are going to simulate a fire. We're going to hold the trigger to the rear, eject and extract and eject the round. Check for that trigger reset. Fire again, hammer falls to the rear. Firearm cycles. Hit our reset. We put the safety on. Make sure the trigger doesn't fall. Make sure our hammer doesn't fall. Take the safety off. Hammer falls. Firearm fires. We can chamber again. That's third round. Pull the trigger. Hold the rear. We can reset. Make sure we have last round hold back on the magazine. Magazine releases. Slide releases. We can decock the firearm. That pretty much concludes a dry fire functions check. At this point, we will do our field strip. So we're going to drop our magazine. There's 2 dots on the left side of this firearm. There's none on the right side, so we're going to grab it, take the slide. We're going to go back till the 2 dots match. You can push this pin. Helps sometimes use something hard, like the base of your magazine will work. Push the pin out. Pull your slide release lever. Here we have our grip module, the magazine. At this point, we can then take our recoil and guide spring out, come out with a barrel, and we have our basic field strip firearm and our field strip per the manual. That concludes part 1 and part 2. Alright, so for part 3, for the sub-assembly functions check, we'll go through, and since part 3 is before we do a disassembly, and I'm now picking up this grip module, is just clicked in my head of why this firearm is so front end snappy. There's extreme amount of weight in this rear end compared to in the front of the slide. When I did shoot this firearm, very, very front end snappy, but explains why, because we're very back heavy here. But doing a rear or a sub-assembly functions check, we'll just kind of go and look through each component. We'll look at our hammer, make sure everything's moving, make sure we can decock. We'll hammer back. We can do a dry fire, make sure nothing's binding up in this lower grip module. We can apply the safety, we can release the safety, we can work the mag release. We can even double action trigger, or we can come back into single action release. Just kind of feel, look, everything. We also take our guide spring here, compress it, make sure those springs are broken, or now our springs are captured on each end, meaning we have flat space. We'll look at our barrel, excessive wear, excessive issues, nothing that is visually noticeable wrong. We can also take our slide. We can run our slide back in here and make sure we have free ready to travel. Slide moves, no binding, nothing in that sense. And that would conclude our sub-assembly functions check, and we can actually dive deeper into this and analyze each component as we do a disassembly, looking internally for more wear, excessive parts that are damaged, bent, broken. If we have a firearm that does not pass the functions check, go into this form. Still cannot determine the issue. Do we do the full disassembly and analyze each part as we take it apart, which is going to be rolling into part 4. So one thing I want to just click before I go into a deep dive of the disassembly of this, due to the 10-minute time constraint, and just looking at the videos that SDI has done, the 10-minute time constraint is not going to be very easily achieved with a full disassembly and a full assembly on video camera. So I'm going to do a disassembly, show it completely disassembled, do the drawings, show the drawings are done, and then do a reassembly, and do then at that time the reassembly, do the dry fire or the dry functions check for part 1. We did the dummy ammunition in part 1. After the assembly, we are going to do a dry functions check without the dummy ammunition. Here is the SAR B6 fully disassembled. Now we'll do the measurements, show that next. So here's our shop drawings. Here's our recoil rod. We got the side view. We've got our end view depicted right here. And then we have our other end depicted right here. Move it up the sheet. Here's our firing pin. Here's the end of it with the flat and our round. And then, oh sorry, this is the end looking down. And then this part here is going to be the end we previously shown. Now on the extractor, we first have it on our side view. Then we have our end view. And then over here we have our top view. As we kind of indicated, this portion here is drawn out because of that chamfer. Done shop drawings before, but nothing on complex items like this where we have chamfers here. We have flat spots, round parts. This one's pretty straightforward, other than we need a tool to check that radius to measure it and depict it, as well as radius here. Can't really do those with a micrometer. A good Mac tool micrometers is what I use. But there's our shop drawings. Now we get to reassemble. Alright, we are fully reassembled. So, safety. No magazine, physically check, no ammunition. Slide forward, hammers back, safety on, pull the trigger, safety does not fall. Remove the trigger, hammer falls, hold the trigger to the rear, reset, firearm fires, double action. We have reset, single action, firearm fires. We go ahead and put it in single action, put the safety up, no fire. And then we take our magazine, which is empty, insert it, make sure the magazine release works, pull it, make sure last round holdback works. Come in, drop the mag. I always like to make sure we can lock the slide with the slide lock as well. Slide releases. That is our functions check is complete. This farm is now ready for a test fire and then return to the customer if we have no further issues. Week 3, Module 3 assignment is complete.